Now, this video has more or less come about as a result of probably the most frequently asked questions that I get when I'm in the studio with bands. And that is, how do I get my music up on Spotify, on Apple Music, or even Tidal? And what do you think is the best option to go for? Now, before we start, I don't really want to get into a debate about streaming royalties and how much Spotify is earning compared to artists. That's probably going to be a video for another time. That's going to be further down the line. This is a tricky question to answer, as no band ever really have the same requirements as another, and everyone has different standards or expectations for what they're looking for and the options that they want to do. When making this video, I posted a question to my Facebook page asking artists and bands who they were using and why they were using that. Get your music onto Spotify and Apple and Amazon and all the rest of it, you'll need to sign up with somebody called a digital distributor. These people take care of registering your tracks for streaming platforms, and they act as the middleman between you, Spotify, Apple, and everyone else. You upload your files once to these distributors, and then they do the donkey work of registering your tracks with everyone else, whichever provider you want your music to appear on. In the UK, the most popular service for streaming is probably Spotify, but it's always worth considering making sure that your tracks are available and registered with other stores such as Amazon, Tidal, and anywhere else, because other countries might have other options or more popular options than Spotify. From what I've seen online through groups and through my own question on the Facebook page, Distrokid has become an incredibly popular service for a lot of users. It's a subscription of $19.99 a year, and you can upload as many tracks and singles and albums as you want in that year. But you just have to make sure that every year you pay a renewal fee or the tracks get taken down. This is a similar model to the likes of Tunecore, and then there's another options that we're going to explore, which is CDbaby and Emubands, who operate in a slightly different manner, where you pay per release and the songs stay up forever until you ask for them to be taken down. So I've mentioned that no band have the same requirements. I'm going to give you a couple of examples to try and show you what I mean. Let's take my old band Senna. We're no longer active. We broke up in around about 2009, 2010. We used to be using TuneCore, but our deal expired and the tracks were taken down. And it's amazing that the tracks are on YouTube, because basically there's a bunch of kids and fans who've heard the track through a PSP game. They actually ripped the album and uploaded the videos with the album cover on it. If we were looking at uploading our music, our requirements might be completely different to a band who I'm currently working with at the moment. So let's use Spyroad, because they're still actively gigging, or they would be if we weren't in lockdown. And what they might want to set as for release date and PR campaign may be very, very different to what Senna are looking for. For Senna, if we were going to upload the music, it wouldn't be really to any fanfare. It might just be purely as a catalogue process, and just to keep our music available to fans who want to listen to it wherever they listen to music, which might be Spotify, Apple, Tidal, Amazon. Another option could be for bands who work purely as a cover band. They might be looking at releasing singles on a regular, recurring basis and need to ensure that all the correct copyright, release dates and performing rights have all been planned and are happening exactly as they want it. So even with the three band examples, we have a very, very different set of needs and options to consider. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not really going to recommend a specific distributor or provider, as everything is variable, and there are definitely a few options to consider for each category of band that I've mentioned. And you really have to weigh this up when you're uploading and distributing your own music. Now, if we break them down into points, they would be: where is the music available? Where can the users buy or listen to your music? There's an upfront cost. So how much is it going to cost to register your songs on the online stores? Are there any recurring costs? So are there any renewal fees? And is there a royalty fee that you have to pay to the distributor? So are they asking for a royalty fee in return for actually uploading and producing the songs? Another consideration might be splits. Can you split the incoming money between all band members at the source, or do you need to actually go into one account and then do it yourself manually? Is there a release date strategy? Are you able to set the date for the song becomes active in advance? You might need 4 weeks for that to actually become active. Have you got an option for cover licensing? This will happen for cover bands or maybe yourself. Any other extra fees that you might need to take into consideration. So going through these points now, let's start with Distrokid. As I've mentioned already, Distrokid has become an extremely popular service for a lot of new artists and unsigned musicians, because you're only paying just under $20 a year and you can upload as many songs and tracks and singles as you like in that year. It doesn't cost you any extra and you keep all the royalties. If the band breaks up or something happens and the subscription isn't maintained that following year, then all the music that you previously uploaded will automatically get taken down on the renewal point, which kind of goes against with what Distrokid is saying on their own website and in their frequently asked questions. Distrokid have an option which they call leaving a legacy, whereby, as I understood it, is that the music stay up online and Distrokid will collect the royalties on your behalf. But this seems to be more about covering circumstances around death or if a member's debit card has expired, rather than not having to renew each year. So should you wish to cancel your subscription and you have chosen to pay the extra for leaving a legacy, I think your music still gets taken down. And as I understand it, there's been some confusion online about this from people that I've spoken to. If you cancel your annual payments with Distrokid, they will take the tracks down. You can't terminate your contract with Distrokid and have them carry on continually collecting the royalties. They're not collecting a percentage for their fees for the work that they're doing, and then this is being covered in their annual fee. So with Distrokid, are there any extras? Yes, there's lots. If you release your music on a specific date, you're going to need to pay extra for a release date and pay extra for that. If you want Distrokid to take care of automatic distribution of royalties between songwriters, that's an extra fee where each person has to register as well. My understanding is that these people will also need to register with Distrokid and pay the subscription of $20 a year, and then that will allow you to split the money and the songwriting royalties between you. The advantage of this, it will save you having the hassle of having to sit down onto a spreadsheet and looking through your collaborators and working on if it's like a one-off, then they can get paid and it's all taken care of, and you don't have to worry about accountancy issues. Another extra with Distrokid is if you want to register your songs with Shazam, it's an extra $1 per song per year. So if you've got 100 songs that you wanted registered, that's $100 per year on top of the $20. Another extra is if Distrokid registers a new streaming platform or service, they can retrospectively add your album or release to these new stores for $7.95 a year. To give an example of this, say that I launched a brand new high definition streaming platform that the press were heralding for some reason as a saviour of the music industry, and Distrokid wanted their tracks released on here. By having paid per release of the $7.95 per release, your songs will automatically get added to this site. So it's an extra service that you have to add on top. Now, if you upgrade your account to Musician Plus or Label Plus subscription with Distrokid, you can set the price for your download on Apple Music or Google Play. And I don't think you can do that prior to that on the standard of rates. So if you want to collect royalties from YouTube via Distrokid, again, you're paying an extra service per release per year. And Distrokid will also take 20% of any advertising royalties or any ad rev from YouTube as well. Now, with Distrokid, outside of YouTube, all the royalties that they collect is automatically distributed through the stores to you, and they don't take a percentage of your royalties. You retain 100% of those royalties, and if you're doing cover songs, there is an additional $12 per song per year to cover the licensing and the release of those songs on the streaming platforms. And this is done to ensure that the songwriters of the songs get paid their share of the music and everything is released legally, and they take care of the back end for that. So if you're doing a cover band idea, like we said in option 3, we might be looking at releasing something like 30 songs a year. That could come in at $360 on top of any releases that we wanted to actually add and choose on top. The model for Distrokid is you really have a cheap annual price to draw people in and get them paying the $20 a year. And then if you need the extra services, not everyone's going to want them. They may not want to set a release date. This is where you start paying for extra for the parts. You really have to think through this and sit down on a spreadsheet or sit down when talking to bands about what is the best option for you. In general, feedback from musicians that I've talked to on the whole has been extremely positive one. There have been negative points I've seen from other areas, but £20 a year is a great option for multiple releases. If you're releasing tons of music and you're not too worried about campaign dates or campaign cycles, launch dates and all the rest of it, so you just have to make sure that the money that you earn over the course of the year from streaming covers the cost of the renewal from Distrokid. So there's a few pros and a few cons about that. The next distributor I want to talk about is CDbaby. These guys, as far as most people now are concerned, they're older than time itself. They were there before Facebook, and they were there before Tom was your first friend on MySpace. CDbaby was founded in '98 by Derek Sivers, and he was a musician from New York. He wanted to sell his own music online, and the business model is slightly different to Distrokid. distribution model is you pay once per release and then everything is up online for life. And the difference is CDbaby take a small percentage of the royalties. So for a digital album, it would cost $30 up front for this to be released worldwide. If you upgrade to $69, you can also distribute physical albums on demand as well, and this covers your worldwide release. There's no annual renewal fees, so in return, CDbaby asks for 9% of any royalty income generated from your sales or from the streaming platforms. So this is where you have to sit down and think about which option is going to be the best for you. So do you want to pay a renewal fee each year to keep your music online, or are you happy to have the distributor take a small cut of your earnings and you don't have to worry about having to keep processing royalties and keep the renewal fees going on your behalf? If I was going to re-up, say if we go back to Senna, if I was going to re-upload tracks for Senna, I'm probably going to look at CDbaby just because they have no intention of taking the tracks down, and I have no intention of uploading loads of new music. The sales might not be that much, and we're not going to want to keep paying renewal fees each year because we're a legacy band. So the money that's coming in might not even make up the money that we need to cover the annual renewal fees. And we're not going to be heavily pushing the album. It's there for people who used to like the band to check them out and see whether they still wanted to have it. Okay, so if we go back then to the other services Distrokid offers for extras, one of the benefits was the payment splits that Distrokid options. CDbaby doesn't offer automatic payment splits between band members or featured artists. They just say that the money goes into one account and it's down to the artist or the account manager to distribute the money accordingly to the relevant parties. If you're in a position where royalty distribution is getting complicated or becoming a bit of a problem, it's not as simple as keeping the money in one account, it's probably worth considering getting an account manager or having someone to work on a complicated spreadsheet to work out who gets paid what and when. Another option was the cover song licensing. As mentioned before, Distrokid offers this service for $12 a year, but remember that they are a digital distribution service only. Because CDbaby also offers physical distribution and a print-on-demand service, this is where the cover song licensing kind of get a little bit murky, and there's a lot of grey areas between mechanical royalties and digital royalties. Because it gets more complicated, CDbaby has just gone, we're not taking care of any cover song licensing. You have to sort out the royalties and you have to sort out the licensing in advance and process on your own. They've partnered with a company called Easy Song Licensing to deal with this end of the inquiries, and it's not as simple as just paying $12 a year for each song. So it's an extra option and it's an expense that you have to consider if you want to go down the cover song licensing route with CDbabies. Now again, let's go on to the positives. CDbaby will distribute your songs to more online stores than Distrokid. It's about 150 stores more. Adding your song to Shazam doesn't cost anything extra, whereas it was 99 cents per song or $1 per song per year. One of the other things that CDbaby will do is register your tracks with YouTube automatically, and you don't have and creates YouTube tracks for songs and licensing, and so they can collect the royalties again on your behalf. And again, this is an extra option that you have to pay for on Distrokid, and for CDbaby it's free and included. On top of that, there's more marketing and publishing services available to you with CDbaby as if you are a CDbaby customer. Show.co is actually something that could be worth exploring when you're looking at expanding your reach. And it's my understanding that it's also a separate company that CDbaby offered to record labels and publishers to use the services they were offering their independent artists. So it's something that's a really strong marketing platform to actually look at as well. Now with Show.co, there is a cost to this, and it's not something that I'd recommend to anyone who's just starting out, but it's an option that's probably worth looking into as the foundations of the band kind of established and you want to take the next step, and it's just an option and a service that's there if you need it. Another service then, Tunecore. Tunecore operate in a similar vein to Distrokid. As I understand it, you pay an annual fee for each release, but you keep 100% of the royalties from the music stores and the streaming platforms that the songs are registered to through Tunecore. Now let's use Fire Road as an example. We're about to start working on the third album. I have no idea who they were going to be releasing through, but for argument's sake, let's just say that they've been using Tunecore to release their music in the past. And at the present time, they've got 2 albums and also an acoustic show that was recorded and released as a third option, as their third release. And then this new album then would be album 4 as far as the distribution platforms would go. A new release on Tunecore will cost $29.99 to release in the first year for this album, and then there's a renewal cost per album for each platform. So for 4 individual albums, that's going to be just shy of $200 a year. And if you want to add on the royalties for YouTube, that's going to be another $10 on top as well. Now with the YouTube collection, you only pay for that once and it's not done per track. Distrokid starts at $20 per year, but remember you have to add on YouTube royalties and Shazam parts registration as a price per track, whereas on Tunecore this is all included in the cost. If each album had 10 tracks, that's £40 a year just on Shazam registration, and about $14.95 for the album on YouTube royalties. That would come in. So for Distrokid, you're looking around about $120 a year. If the same release happened on CDbaby, there is a one-time setup fee which is $30 per album. So you've paid $120 for the 4 albums, but you won't have to pay any renewal fees and the songs will stay up online. But it's not really the end of the story. As CDbaby are taking a 9% percentage of the royalties from music sales or from the streaming platforms to cover their collection and the royalty distribution, you can end up spending more with CDbaby than the $200 a year if your music generates anything over than, say, $2,000 a year. So if you're earning $2,000, you're going to be paying more for CDbaby than you would for Distrokid or Tunecore. Now, another option that came up on my Facebook page was Emubands. They offer a very similar service to how CDbaby operate, but they're not asking for a royalty percentage from the returns of the income. It's basically a simple upfront payment, which comes in a little bit more at the beginning, but there's also an option for EPs if the song numbers are smaller for albums. So this is more suited to unsigned bands and indie artists, and you can also set release dates at no extra cost. As far as I can see, Shazam is also covered for no extra charge, and I believe they also cover the collection for YouTube royalties as well. So if we took Fyro's album with Emubands, the cost would be just under £200 upfront for all the albums. And that's about $264 if we're covering that from there. From covers, there is little information from what I could see about licensing, so you're going to be in a similar position as CDbaby where you're going to have to go through and make sure you get the cover and the licensing for the cover parts yourselves. Now, the list isn't exhaustive. There are other distributors such as AWOL. You probably need to apply to them for distribution as they're selective on who they choose. You've got Ditto Music, who are offering very similar pricing to Distrokid. The main thing is that for each case, you need to weigh up the factors and work out which option is the best option for you and your music or your artist. Hopefully that you found this information useful. Please give me a like and subscribe if so. Give me a shout about if there's anyone I've missed out, or if there's any questions you have about this. I know there's a hell of a lot of information to try and take in, and it's probably left you asking more questions than you really started with. To try and cover this, I've broken down this entire video into PDF for you to refer back to. All I ask in return is for an email address. There'll be a link below in the comments or the description for you to get that download link. If you have any questions for me, leave me a comment below and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can, and I'll see you all again next week.